Right, so it's time for the third and probably final race of this season.
Ja, jag tror det.
I did have to skip practice because of family stuff, but I have been riding here 3 times during the last 1-2 weeks. So I do know the tracks. Always a risk that they've taped the tracks in a way that you're not prepared for, like you saw in a previous race. But I think Jonathan has kept it kind of open, so it should be good. Also, I don't know where the actual goalposts are. You have to pass really close to them for them to stop the time. So that's also a small disadvantage, but...
Enough of excuses. Let's race.
I forgot about that corner.
So this whole race is kind of pedally with...
eager to get out there.
It doesn't really include any really gnarly stuff. The only gnarly stuff is like the last 100 meters of the last stage. But we'll get to that. I seem to be kind of opening with a pretty good pace. Tricky tight corners. Not my specialty. And that's where I went all OTB in this race like 2 years ago.
One down.
Alright, the most pedal of all the stages. It's kind of only pointing downwards at the last 25 meters or so. Seems to be in a pretty good pace though. Final stretch, the only downhill part. Quite a good result. When I got to the start of this stage, there was an angry old man complaining about us riding bikes in the forest. And it felt kind of obvious that he was going to try and interfere with this stage as he slowly walked down it. So I gave it a few minutes, hoping that he would be off the trail, but... Yeah, there is no intention of moving. So I just had to go around him. And a couple of other people also had the same problem. I think until the Tomcat almost took him out. Then he started moving.
Okay, run, I guess. Did some small mistakes that killed some speed. Nothing major.
This is also one of the flatter stages, but it's actually quite fun.
Sketchy.
Even though it's quite flat, it's still kind of fast. This opening section is really fun. This turny section is quite cool also. Though I feel I lack a bit of fitness too. And maybe a bit of cornering technique to really be on the pace. This is probably the trickiest stage. I mean, there's nothing really scary or gnarly on it, but it's just really hard to keep the pace up. Lots of rocks and awkward sections that kills all speed.
Okay,
And I mean, it's not really pointing downhill, this first part of it, or maybe the bigger part of the stage. Alright, now it starts pointing downhill again. It is a fun stage, but it's hard to be fast. Ah, fucked up the line there. And knowing that there's a slippery off-canter corner here, I'm braking far too much going into it. Lost a couple of seconds there.
Easy to feel disappointed when you've done it so much faster in the dry, but...
Alright, the second to last stage. Kind of pedal in the start, but then it starts pointing, well, slightly downhill, but it's quite fast and fun. This is a tricky spot. Hard to do that corner well.
That's one way to do it, I guess.
I do like this stage. At least as soon as you pass all this pedaly stuff in the beginning. Alright, I should start pointing downhill from here. Picking up speed. Kind of fun terrain. And then some pedal stuff here in the middle before it starts pointing downhill again.
Fuck.
It's kind of steep and slippery here. It doesn't really tell on camera, but this corner is really hard. Man, that thing kills all speed. Worst result of the day, actually. Alright, the final stage. The longest stage with the biggest descent. And the last 100 meters are quite gnarly. I did crash twice during practice. Nothing too bad though. Alright, picking up speed again. And kind of sounding like I'm about to die or something. Alright, a pedal section before we're going to the steepest and gnarliest part of this race. This little thing is where I struggled last year. Not really a problem this year. Not sure what the hell I was doing last year. Come on, push it!
Okay, lugnt då.
Trying to make myself feel a bit more confident. So there's a tricky tight corner going into it, making it all that more awkward. And as usual, it doesn't look that much on camera, but that part is actually, well, gnarly in the wet.
Whoops.
Going out with a boom.
Står här. Haven't seen the results yet, but all in all, I think I did an okay race. No big mistakes. It's always hard to judge yourself when you're riding in the wet because everything feels slow. But of course, everyone else is also slower, so I'm not sure. We'll see. I've been confident before and failed miserably. We'll see what happens. I'm not racing so much for results this year, remember? I'm just trying to do my training and see where that gets me.
Boom! That's actually my best result ever. Maybe this whole focusing on the process and focusing on training instead of focusing on race results is actually working. To be fair though, even though I guess I did an okay race or a good race, I think the competition in this race was much lower than it usually is. I mean, there were probably a lot more rookies than it used to be, and several of the fastest guys wasn't there, so I'm not so sure that this actually was my best race, even though it was my best result ever. And if you're interested in how I structured my training this year and focused more on the process and the training than the results, have a look at the video on the top right. And dude, keep fighting.